Jonathan Landsman, pleasure to have you here.
It's great to be with you, Jason. Thank you very much. It's an important topic for sure. Talking about gut health has really everything to do with so many things that I'm sure many people watching this already appreciate to some degree or another. But honestly, I'm hoping after they hear us having a conversation together, they're going to take it even more seriously about some of the things that are basically injuring the gut, but not just the gut, right? It's not like we're just talking about some part in our body. You know, it's a living, breathing thing, our digestive system. And a lot of people I know watching this already understand how deeply connected gut health is, not only to just, wanting to physically feel good, but also in so many ways, mentally and emotionally as well. So much about our thought patterns, our success in life. I don't think it's overstating it at all. I'm sure many of the people who you've talked to as well, Jason, for this, really say the same thing, that without your gut, there's no life at all. So, let's get into some of those things that can hopefully protect a lot of people out there. Some stuff that I'm sure most people are not hearing just about anywhere else, certainly not in the conventional world, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. It seems like every year in the scientific literature, we learn something new or we have something confirmed. And it's funny because I do a lot of research and study on ancient cultures, Ayurveda and Chinese medicine and the indigenous cultures. And they talk about this, in those cultures. And it seems science keeps confirming these things, finding more and more. And, it's funny because a lot of people think when they think gut health, they really just think large intestine, small intestine, and throughout this summit, we've hopefully expanded that view to include, the stomach, chewing, and even lifestyle aspects that affect the gut. But one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, it's been mentioned here and there, but I think, this is what I'm really excited about having you on, is because you have this whole concept and framework for how to think about the gut as it relates to the mouth and the oral microbiota and that environment in the mouth and how that ties into all this and even goes beyond just the gut into other aspects of our health. So start us off. What kind of things can we think about when we talk about oral microbiota and gut health as it relates to the mouth?
Right. Well, first of all, I couldn't agree with you more that I've really been talking very loudly about this. First, it was a very bad personal experiences for myself and also my wife in terms of what we went through in conventional dentistry. Now, we had no idea that we were going to do, online events, educational programs to talk about this publicly. For years, I had mercury-based silver fillings and never thought twice about it. It certainly wasn't given to me with informed consent. I was a kid. I had 14 amalgams, upper right, lower left, and the upper left as well. And they were just put in and nobody told me anything. And my wife, to keep a very long story short, she went through some really terrible conventional dental care. But again, long story short, we went through a lot. And then we both looked at each other and said, look, if we're going to do these educational events, which I was doing so many programs online already for many years, I've produced over 500 programs in many, many years now. It's almost 10 years now. It's over 10 years that I've been doing it. And in 2015, we decided to really look at this closely. And what I noticed was, just like what you just alluded to before, that, digestive health, most people think right away, maybe they think esophagus, but, sort of stomach and small intestines, large intestines, and out the door it goes at the bottom. But what about the mouth? I mean, the mouth is where it all begins, our digestive system. But so much we saw in me creating the Holistic Oral Health Summit, which is available at holisticoralhealthsummit.com. That program is just really looked carefully at how so many problems that conventional dentistry presents to people without them even knowing it, issues people have in their mouth, don't just stay local inside the mouth, but they're mixing with saliva, getting into the bloodstream, mixing with our lymphatic system. And we can talk a little bit more deeply about why this is such a problem today versus even 30, 50 years ago. It is just more problematic now, but how all of this local stuff, if you will, happening in the mouth, mercury-based silver fillings, root canal treated teeth, cavitations, gum disease, these are kind of the 4 areas we can focus on today. That spills into the rest of the digestive system and then throughout the body, causing so many other real problems. First and foremost, Jason, what it's doing is it's getting into our gut and causing this sort of low level, but not insignificant, chronic state of inflammation. And so here it is, we have so many people I know watching this. They take the best quality nutritional supplements, they're eating organic salads, you know, they're making their best moves possible, trying to exercise perhaps, although many people are not doing nearly enough about that. That's a whole other presentation. But the idea being that, you know, they're doing all of these things, but so many of those people are frustrated. They're dealing with health issues, everything from chronic fatigue and brain fog to autoimmune conditions, skin problems, just on a sheer level of having trouble digesting food, whether they know this on a intuitive level, or maybe they took some medical tests and they know they're deficient in certain nutrients. My point is there's a reason why this is going on. And if you've taken care of so many other things, I'm meditating, Jason, I'm exercising several times a week, I'm eating organic food most of the time, I'm taking these high quality supplements that are not toxic, you know, they're not filled with heavy metals, they're not from China, you know, whatever it is somebody might say. But are you looking at your mouth? Do you have a hidden place in your tooth that has a cap on it, or had a, you know, maybe a more of a safe plastic type filling, but maybe the dentist, and this is not a joke, the dentist didn't take out all the mercury filling that was in your tooth, didn't clean you out right, put more of a like a plastic composite type filling on top, and you've been walking around with for years with mercury vapors leaking out into your body. This is a neurotoxic substance. Or maybe you're walking around with a little gum disease, you know, bleeding of the gums, and you haven't thought about that too much, but there's a lot of bacteria and there's waste products that spit out from this bacteria as well. So the list goes on and on. You know, a cavitation, you know, it's basically an infection, a hole in your jaw bone, right? There's cavitations can be in other areas of the body as well, but specifically in the mouth, this improperly, for the most part, improperly extracted teeth that then generate these cavitations that are progressive jawbone type diseases that take years and years and years to get worse and worse. And maybe that is stressing you out like crazy, again, affecting your gut, affecting your mind, your mental outlook, your emotional outlook on life, but also more specifically, a lot of real physical problems that you may be having, physical aches and pains in the gut or somewhere else in your body, the skin problems, the difficulty in correcting nutritional deficiencies that you have, even if you're taking all these high quality supplements and eating well. So again, you can see what I mean. The list goes on and on that people should really appreciate that. Look, if I'm struggling with some sort of health problem, whether it's starting in the gut or somewhere else, and I've tried so many other things, my simple point is please look at the mouth and make sure you can check that box off with confidence that you don't have mercury-based silver fillings, and that can be seen in x-rays. We can talk a little bit more about what's involved, what happens to people with that, Jason. You know, I'll follow your lead with this. You don't have gum disease. You don't have any root canal treated teeth This is very serious. I know there's some little controversy and even some biological dentists, oh, it's okay, we'll save the tooth. But I have pretty strong opinions about that, not based on just my own wild dreams, but in doing a tremendous amount of interviews and work with some of the best biological dentists in the world. So I've done a lot of programs on this, and that you make sure you don't have any cavitations as well. And there's very real concrete ways to go through all of this. Make sure those things don't exist. Basically, your mouth is relatively clean, in good balance, which is going to give you a great chance to have a really well-balanced gut, which is what I know this program is all about, raising that value, if you will, that awareness that we want to keep our gut pretty darn good all the days of our life, so that then from there, we've got the energy to exercise, to work successfully, to have great relationships with people. And we have, of course, all these other aspects of our life not being threatened all the time. Heart muscle, again, the immune system in general, for people who have cancer concerns. This is a red alert for anybody who has not really fully looked at their mouth to please make it a top priority as soon as you can. Make it a part of what you're doing to keep yourself healthy and strong all the years of your life.
Well, and this is something that we talk about, right, with the gut, that it's so dynamic. It has the ability to recover and heal so quickly. We turn cells over. The microbiota populations, they shift and they change, and they're so resilient in so many ways. And yet, if we keep poisoning or creating issues that are coming from the mouth, the oral cavity on a consistent basis, then we just never really give it a chance to really get to that point that we want. And so, talk to me about the metal fillings, because this is interesting. I remember not too long ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, when there was a big, the natural health community was starting to really scream loudly about, hey, these are horrible, this is what they're doing, this is bad, this is bad. And there was a denial coming from the traditional dentist industry and the traditional health industry, really saying, oh, you guys are crazy, there's nothing wrong. And then all of a sudden, or maybe not even all of a sudden, so gradually, it's like it just disappeared. They just stopped using them. There was no mention about how it was bad. Oops, we made a mistake. Oh, we didn't realize. Oh, none of it. It just kind of faded into the background, and all of a sudden these sort of more plastic, white-based composites were being used, and it was like it didn't even exist. So, it's interesting as I look backward now, but I was one who had silver fillings, metal fillings, amalgam fillings. And back then I did the best I could getting those removed properly. But I know that there's very, very specific ways to go about this. And if you do it wrong or less than ideal, there can be issues that are created. So maybe walk me through the problems with these silver fillings. And I think many people are probably somewhat aware, but give me the issues that are really caused by this. And then how do we solve this problem should we have silver fillings today?
Right. I'll probably go through this a little too fast, but people can replay, maybe
pause, yes.
They'll hit pause, whatever, and they can take notes as well, get a pen and paper, make some notes. And of course, don't get overly stressed out about this. I say it all the time. If this doesn't resonate with you, find something else that you're presenting, Jason, that really does resonate to someone. But, for me, it was in the back of my mind to take care of my mercury-based silver fillings. I don't like to just say silver fillings, and all of these other issues as soon as possible, because it really made a lot of sense. But before I get into the mercury fillings, right? Something you said before, I just wanted to hit on that, we don't have to go over age right now, but I'm going to figure that you're a bit younger than me. A lot of people that have these issues in their mouth, right, that spill into the gut. Oh, Jonathan, you're making such a big deal about this. Yeah, I have like one this or one that in my mouth, a root canal. I feel fine. I'm 32, I'm 37, I'm 41. I do 5K road racing. I go to the gym twice a week, whatever.
It's never bothered me. Yeah.
Yeah, they just feel fine. But what happens is what you described is taking all the supplements and having this constant pollution, if you will, toxicity, pouring into your body, it is bullying out nutrients in your 20s and 30s with whatever kind of stresses you have in your life, singular or not as much. You might be getting away with it. And what happens is, as you get older into my years, and certainly I was a beast doing all kinds of things that I wouldn't even go over with you now, never recommend as being healthy. I did it all in terms of abusing my body and athletics and even like shoveling food in my mouth and going to training right afterwards. I mean, crazy stuff that I did in my late teens and early 20s. There's no way I could do that now in my 50s. And so as people go on through life, I hear this all the time. I'm fine, but 7, 12, 15, 20 years later, wham, what happened? And they always tend to say the same thing. I was fine for all this time. Why is this bothering me now? Why am I having so much trouble? They're frustrated, they're angry, they're confused, all these things. And people are not hearing enough from even integrative physicians, although, in all fairness, it is changing over the last many years, but it's still not enough in terms of this connection between the mouth and the rest of your body. This idea that, look, you were going all this time and eventually it just wore you out, or maybe lifestyle changes, or the sheer fact that you're breaking your body down and then an extra stress hits you in your life, a death in the family, a loss of a job, or something happens in your family on top of all this nutritional deficiencies and excessive toxic burdens that you've been, quote unquote, dealing with for years. Now it's a problem. And that's exactly what it is. The bathtub analogy, I don't know if you know it, Jason, but I say it often. It's a very simple analogy for people that, the water is going up and up and up. It's problematic. You should turn it off. You should do something about it. But nobody notices a problem until it's that very last drop. So it's spilling out into the carpet, seeping through the walls, going down into the next floor below, and then everything crashes down and it's a whole catastrophe. But it should have been taken care of a long time ago.
And it's a beautiful analogy because there's two aspects to that, right, that I love. One is shut the water off or turn it down. And the other is pull the drain, right? So, and this is very analogous to the body. We need to be able to flush out toxins, get rid of them. And ideally, we shut the faucet off and stop pointing them in too. So it is such a great analogy because as soon as it starts flooding over, again, even then it's not the end of the world, but wait too long and it's a complete disaster. So.
Right, and it's all relative, right? We have to stay in the context of everybody listening here. And I know people are listening to this on all ends of the spectrum. But for me, in my 40s, when I looked at this, started creating programs, interviewing biological dentists, I was one of the last people to have conversation and program design work and doing interviews with Hal Huggins, who was a pioneer in this before he passed away. He was a giant and a really charismatic, powerful personality that had a way of grabbing you by the coat and saying, look, okay, you can do what you want if you want to get sick, but if you're not interested in getting sick, maybe you want to listen to what I have to say. Basically, that was the way he was, and he had a great way of communicating. But a lot of these dentists were getting through to me. A lot of the integrative physicians were talking to me as well and getting through to me. And I was saving my money at that time because it was going to cost something. And then I had to locate the right one that felt good to me, a dentist, to help me with this. And then you have to prepare yourself properly. So first thing to understand is mercury-based silver fillings are over 50% mercury. They're neurotoxic and have no place in the body. Going back to something you said, for many years, basically in conventional dentistry, oh, come on, Jonathan, why do they do that? There's big business and legal reasons why this train keeps rolling down the track. In my opinion, they will never backtrack and say, look, we're coming clean. Mercury is seeping out of the tooth, out of the filling. It's getting into the body. We feel it's causing physical problems. We know we said it was no issue before, but now it is.
You're just teeing it
That's
up for lawyers, right?
That's completely unrealistic. And I think everybody listening to this gets it. By the way, to bring you up to speed, it's very interesting. Anyone can check this out. For years, you're right. All they say conventionally is, that's ridiculous. You're a crackpot, Jason. I'm a crackpot. And every biological dentist that has cleaned out mercury out of people's mouths and the symptoms have gone away, vision issues have gotten better, autoimmune conditions have gone away. Literally, I've interviewed and seen tumors are shrinking and going away, cancerous tumors in the body, after people have done so many other things, but they didn't clean up their mouth. A big part was getting rid of the mercury. So cleaning up the mouth actually had a lot of serious health issues reverse out and fade away because the mouth was so much cleaner and wasn't abusing the body anymore. It was like literally lifting a weight off of somebody's chest. What a relief it was. All of this has happened with these people, yet conventionally speaking, no, it's no big deal. Now, if you go right now to good old Dr. Google and you check it out, they readily, openly admit that the mercury vapors, which they said didn't do anything, it was always like, and right now, dental students listening to this, you're still being taught crazy. A lot of them are coming out of school thinking, oh, it's all encased in there. It's nice and hard. Don't worry about it. Yet, of course, anyone knows if it's extracted out of the mouth, they got to treat it like nuclear waste, and they have to be careful. So somehow magically, if it's out of the body, watch out. It's a danger zone. But when it's in there, don't worry about it at all. But if you look on the internet, they are admitting that the mercury vapors are seeping out. But of course, guess what the next sentence is? Don't worry about it. It's such a small amount. And this is a theme people must think about. The aspartame in food, all the GMOs, it's just a little genetic manipulation. Don't get so wound up. It's just a little chemicals in your perfume. It's just a little mercury in a little tooth. And so what if you have 14 like I did and they're seeping out? And by the way, your mouth is close to your brain. Don't worry about that because your liver can detoxify your body and it's so little, and your kidneys, and oh, you'll just get rid of that stuff and has no effect at all. Just go back to sleep.
And the Agent Orange is fine. And, you know, all these things throughout history, right? This is constantly what we see.
Constantly what they talk about. So what did I do? Obviously, I didn't listen to that nonsensical logic of don't worry about it, go back to sleep and just be busy with other stuff. Got ready, 4 visits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 different visits, got them all out, never felt better after that. But again, preparing the body beforehand is so important. So I'll rapidly go through it. If you've got gut issues, if you have bloating, if you have gut pain, if you have the grumbling, if you have gas, you know, this is not something to try to embarrass people, but let's get real. If you are letting that gas out your rear end and you know that's an issue with you, if you're constipated, if you have diarrhea, all of these issues, more so constipation and diarrhea, but if you have any of these gut issues, you want to try to do the best you can to get the best diet on board. Most people are severely dehydrated. Most people have not nearly, Jason, and I'll say it again, not nearly enough antioxidants are they taking on board based on where they live in a city, EMF pollution stressing the hell out of their nervous system. I hope that's okay that I just said that word. All the toxins that they're exposed to from cigarette smokers around them, even if they're not smoking, city smog, food that they, well, maybe not be the best, or city water, restaurant water, and restaurant food. All of this toxicity is there. All these stresses, mental, emotional, and physical stresses, normal for living your life as a human being. In the context of all of that, for every person, there is no way that most people are taking on nearly as many antioxidants as they should. So getting yourself in order first before extracting, if you can. You don't have stage 4 cancer and it's like 7 weeks to live, which literally I interviewed one doctor who told an incredible show-stopping interview with me detailing what he went through with 7 weeks left to live, basically. Then you got to go in and just clean everything up, right? You're not like, oh, let me take some fiber and let me meditate and let me walk and drink some more water for a few months and we'll see how it goes. You got to get in there and clean up your mouth immediately to try to make a significant change. But otherwise, most everybody else should really try to take on as many antioxidants as they can, cleaner diet, get well hydrated as much as they can, then go in and get a good, well-trained, experienced biological dentist. One that I recommend that comes from the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. That's IAOMT.org. You can go there. They have like 1,000 plus whatever. People are always coming on board, mostly in the US, Canada, and throughout the world. There's some others as well. If you have to travel, you've got to travel. There's no guarantee that that dentist, in all fairness to an organization that I have great respect for, but I'm not saying that every single one of them is going to be absolutely perfect for you and your situation, but I picked out the one that I felt was best for me up in New York. Now I'm down in Florida. I drove an hour and a half each way, 3 hours of my time just driving, and then of course the hour plus visit easily for each of my visits. It was well worth the time. Find someone like that, make phone calls. If you're not comfortable having a conversation with that dentist, I'll be honest with you, I could tell you all these things today. It doesn't mean anything at all. First and foremost, are you comfortable? Have you got good communication with your integrative healthcare providers, whether they're dentists or doctors? Without a doubt, step one. Step two, of course, when you actually go into the office, look, you've got to rinse with charcoal. It looks really ugly. You don't want to do videos, right? Your black mouth. Swallow that charcoal. That's going to coat your whole inside and give you a protective layer. That dentist, hopefully, mine did. It's all I can share with you. I was in like an ICU unit, a separate room, doors sealed and all, not sharing it with other dentists and people and drilling and spraying. In that room, air treated and massively circulated, ionized, suction right there under your mouth, a big tube drawing a tremendous amount of air away from you. Water is irrigating at the point before they drill. They've got to be very precise. My dentist was amazing with his hands. I mean, look, it's an auto mechanic, right? For your mouth. You've got to have someone that you feel is not going to be teeter-totter, and all due respect to someone's age, but 75, 79 years old is different than a dentist in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s on their game every day, well protected themselves like Darth Vader, mask and suit. You're well protected as well, glasses and a whole suit. So I've gone through this whole thing. And then, of course, that dentist has got to be precise. And that's the goal. For me, I was blessed, believe it or not, when I'm talking about mercury-based fillings. They were shallow fillings. So getting in and around and plucking them out as whole as possible is ideal. But if your mercury-based silver fillings are deep, it gets complicated, granted. But just giving you an idea of how that dentist has to be careful to keep the area cool, lots of great suction right there in the mouth as well as on top of the tube, and getting out those pieces as large as possible so that nothing is getting into you. A dam is recommended, clearly another barrier as well, so God forbid you won't end up swallowing a piece of mercury. The bottom line is it's very important for people to understand. No mercury is good in your body. This whole thing, to have a program and a discussion like this, Jason, you can see gets me jacked up, is insane that we have to do this, but it doesn't mean we don't have to do it. We have to, but the climate out there is still way out to lunch. and I don't mean, in all due respect, anybody watching, I mean conventional medicine is still way out to lunch. And again, to just bring up one other example as to why it would be like this, a former FDA commissioner, the United States Food and Drug Administration has a lot to do with what's going on in terms of whether mercury filling should be used or not in the US, and they're still perfectly fine. But a former FDA commissioner, Margaret Hamburg, I don't know if you know that name or not, but the bottom line is that woman was with Henry Schein before she became the commissioner at the FDA. Now, is this woman going to come out as the person in charge of the FDA? Whoa, whoa, whoa. When she was in charge, or any of these other commissioners, we got to take a second look at these mercury fillings. Let's really warn people. This isn't good. Henry Schein is the largest, if not the largest, producer of mercury-based silver fillings for the dental community. So is there a connection? Of course there is. So a lot of this stuff, people have to stop being angry, stop being frustrated, stop talking about it, and just take control of your own health. It is not a cliche. Take these steps, find a dentist to work with. You can't do this on your own. There's no natural home remedies for this. I would obviously suggest you get them out as soon as possible, but you do have to take these really smart steps because, like you said, you got to protect yourself. You go willy-nilly, you were fortunate, thank God, but people literally paralysis on one side of their face, they lose vision, they have lupus, MS-like symptoms. These are all people, real people I'm thinking about when I'm telling you these symptoms, when they had drilled these mercury fillings, just to even have them replaced, forget about extracting them, and then being exposed to massive amounts of mercury vapor in that one visit alone that sent them into a whole tailspin of health issues. So it is very important to get all these things set up right to protect your health.
I think it's brilliant. I'm glad you included that because it's something that has become such an important topic to discuss, right? You're getting the liver functioning well, you're getting the gut functioning well. You're fixing your lifestyle even, right? You're setting yourself up for success because even in the best circumstances, you're still going to get exposed to mercury vapor in the process. You're trying to minimize that, and then you're trying to excrete it and deal with it, allow the body to be able to deal with it as much as possible.
And how many people are watching this right now with mercury, with gum infections, with cavitations, bone in the jaw that's rotting out, stressing the immune system, spilling into the saliva, mixing into the gut, breaking through, there's leaky gut, it's going into the bloodstream, into the lymphatics, and chronically every day. Again, not to make fun, but I think now the picture is clear. An organic salad and 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and a super greens, drink in the morning is just honestly not enough to get your head above water. That picture I like to paint is the clear, simple thing of, do we have enough nutrients on board and our toxic burdens down so that we're not drowning in this stuff? When someone is physically, mentally, and emotionally suffering, they're drowning in some form of negativity, some form of toxins. And yes, you could just go around blaming your life situation, money, job, a boss, a relative, hopefully not, but it's not just that, Jason. I've got tremendous stress around me. My business is very stressful. I have everything wired, but a lot of technology around me. My relationships are always a challenge, although they're good, it takes work. I've got all those things like everybody else, but it's about really making sure that your toxic burdens are way down. Clean up your mouth, please, and really jack up your antioxidant load. That's probably the single biggest message, and I hope it's of value, Jason.
Absolutely, yeah. You speak to this idea that there's just so many things that we're dealing with, right? And again, this is my take has always been, you knock out as many of these things as you can, one at a time if necessary, but you chip away and you chip away. And again, it's the mouth that I find is often forgotten about. When I'm working with clients, they come to me after seeing 12 integrative medicine doctors or 15 doctors, and it's like they're doing all these things, and I look at the mouth, and there's horrible things going on that, look, I don't know if that's the sole cause, if it's the last remaining bit, or if it's just something new, but either way, it's not been addressed. And so, I think the mercury based fillings are a horrible issue that are, again, we're starting to come around on it. It's great, but I love the tips that you gave with that, because it's not as simple as going into a biological dentist and saying, okay, I'm here, let's clean this up. Because I've gone to a couple that I actually got off IAOMT and thought that they were probably great. I went in there and interviewed with them, so to speak. I kind of had some banter. And granted, I came in knowledgeable enough to sort of interview them. And one of them wanted to, I was asking them about my bottom teeth, and hey, I think there's a little misalignments. How can we address this? And he recommended let's just take out this tooth in the front here, and that'll give you more space, because I haven't had my wisdom teeth taken out. And I'm like, whoa. I'm not going to come in and start just extracting teeth. Like, you're crazy. How are you biological? So anyway, that's just to illustrate that it is important to be selective and feel good about who you're working with. And they should be quick, right? There's sort of this balancing act when it comes to mercury fillings. It's like they want to be precise and they want to take things out in big chunks, but they also want to be quick in the process, so that they're not in there forever and drilling and creating all kinds of dust and vapors and all these things. So it is a process, but they really need to know what they're doing. And I love the sort of picture that you painted, because you should walk in there feeling like, where the hell am I? Am I on Mars, or am I in a bomb shelter?
Yeah, and to add on to what you're saying as well, the idea is, it's not like, oh, do this and everything will be fine. The point is, again, what I said before, to make it simple again, cleaning up your mouth is releasing yourself from a heavy burden, which then will enable all the nutrients you're taking, all the stuff that's happening otherwise that's good, to take hold. All the nutrients going in with a toxicity burden that's too high is really a lot wasted. You don't get to gain the benefit. So it's very important. And again, we can talk about gum disease a little bit.
Yeah, I would love to go
like
into gum disease, because this is one, again, even in the dentist world, it's really not addressed, I feel like, in the right ways. And there's not enough steps given to how to solve this problem. In fact, it's almost like, oh, you have this issue, you're gonna have to floss more. And it's like, well, yeah, there's more to it, right? So how do we address gum disease, and how should we think about it in the context of our oral health?
You're 100% right. And again, I'm not putting anyone on notice. You're absolutely right. Even in integrative circles, certainly within integrative medicine, it's not really addressed at all. But even if you go to most dentists, and ones you would think are quote unquote holistic, they're not really touching on this one much at all. It's floss. How often do you brush? It's this kind of like, if you don't, you ought to feel a little guilty. And maybe when you leave now, you'll be a good boy or girl, and you'll do the right thing and brush more often, twice a day, which is fine. You should do that. And away from the gum lines, on the bottom and on the top. Okay, there's your tip for that. And flossing is great, removing particles in between teeth, and great to hit that once a day. And you want to get really crazy fancy, get some essential oil and clove or peppermint or neem, and you just kind of take it a drop on your finger, and then just right across the floss, and then get in between the teeth. And now you've got like an extra bonus there of doing flossing at another level. That's all great. But the bottom line is, if you're brushing your teeth and you spit out and you see a little blood, you have gum disease. Yes, there's degrees of gum disease. There's the horrible pictures you see on the internet of very red and inflamed, and the teeth don't look like anything you want to get close to at all, and they look like they're going to fall out, and they're brown and rotted. Okay, we get that. But there's so many degrees of this, that gum disease, bottom line, is that inflammation and that tissue infection that causes just a little bit of blood. Where else, Jason? As I've often said, you're bleeding out of your finger, you're bleeding out of your face, you're bleeding out of your leg, whatever, just go on with the rest of your day, don't worry about it. But a lot of people do that. And another big warning, if you have heart issue autoimmune heart issues, autoimmune disorders, gut issues, even just on that level alone, right? Cancer concerns at all, and you have gum disease. And this was told to me by just, mind you, one of the biological dentists, and I can't even tell you, Jason, it's a lot, no exaggeration. I've been with a lot of biological dentists. I've created a lot of programs. The one that we can talk about at the end that I have that's coming up soon, one said this, and it went right through me and made sense, that if you've got that gum disease going on and you just have a next Tuesday appointment with your dental hygienist to get the sharp instrument stuck into your mouth in every single tooth, and you're going to bleed much more profusely, where do you think that blood and the infections are going to go? It's going to go and get spread in a much larger way. A very common symptom for people who are very on the edge, right? People, so many, millions who might say on any other given day, Jason, how do you feel? Oh, I'm fine. Those people, millions, can feel somewhat exhausted after just getting a dental cleaning. What's that all about? Oh, I was in the chair. Oh, it hurt me a couple times and I was squeezing the handles of the chair for 45 minutes or so. It just stressed me out and I'm tired. No, it's an infectious load. It's a very traumatic thing. People need to be careful. Clean up, seal up the gums, get that bleeding to go away before getting a dental cleaning. Dental cleanings are great. Deep cleanings that scrape, 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 remove plaque, and also as greater insight to a really proper dental cleaning, you discover, hey, you know, Jason, Jonathan, you're missing the bottom right. You're doing pretty good over here and here and here, but you've got some accumulation of plaque over here. You want to pay attention to that going forward. Everything's okay, but hone in on that until your next visit. That's the kind of insight you should be learning from a cleaning. If you're bleeding, how do you seal it up? Get some essential oils, as I've said, on a toothbrush, on the floss, but most importantly, hydrofloss. Get a container of water, pump through a hydrofloss, and everybody's gum pockets are different. Ones and twos, if you're measuring with an instrument, the insight that they should give you on a cleaning is, that's where your pockets are. Your ones and twos, maybe a couple threes, you're okay. And again, it's in the context. How are you doing from one visit to another? I can tell you right now, Jason, if you've got gum pockets of 4, 5s, and 6, they're in different places, and they're like, okay, we're all done today, you know. Good boy, Jonathan. See you later. Yeah, see you later. And your appointment is 6 months to 12 months later. Leave the office. I'm not playing around here. Forget that office. They are not there for you. Big pockets, issues, infection gets in there, more of a chance to spread all over. You've got to seal them up, and you've got to go every quarter to a dentist to get that feedback. Every 3 months you should go, 4 times a year, 1 or 2 years. You're starting to go 2, 3 times, and every time you visit, hey, your pockets are 1, 2s or little 3s, a couple of them around all your teeth. Now, okay, 3 times a year, maybe twice a year, but check. Are your gum pockets there? 1s and 2s, a lot of them? You're good to go. You graduate then to once a year, and then make sure you keep up. This is the hardest thing, Jason. When things are good, we relax. No need to focus on it anymore. The bottom line is a hydrofloss every day, irrigating the outer part of the tooth, the inside part of the tooth, on the bottoms and on the tops. And if you want to get really fancy in that whole bucket of water, you get like a herbal mouthwash rinse. Pump 1 pump into the whole container, and now you're upping the quality of your water. You can do that too, to spray all around in your mouth, and it will help to reverse large gum pocket size. The bottom line is to get it down, to get your antioxidant levels way up. Actually, that liposomal, my wife, mind-blowing experience every single time. She tends to have bleeding gums, tends to. If she's a little lax, it gets bad. She gets on it, it seals up. What does she kick in with? Liposomal vitamin C plus quercetin, a formula we have out of our store. She takes that spoonful, she swishes it around the gum tissue, and then with her tongue, she's massaging it all around the gums, and then just swallows the vitamin C quercetin down into her body. But she does that religiously for a few days, and then the bleeding is gone. So that's how dynamic gum tissue is. But on the other side, that's the positive, but on the other side, millions of people are chronically walking around with their gums too open, too soft, too chronically infected, too inflamed. And that is spreading into the rest of the body. Remember, nothing in the mouth stays in the mouth. Sort of like Las Vegas. They say it stays there. I say it's the opposite. Nothing in your mouth stays in your mouth. It goes elsewhere. So all kidding aside, the tissues that are weak and bleeding, what about your heart area? The tissues in and around your heart muscle. You don't want to mess around with that. Not when you're my age and as you get older. You want there to be strength and integrity to your tissues. Vitamin C in particular is great for collagen production and keeping the integrity of your tissues strong. Do we need this more as we get older and we've taken on the stresses of life? Yes. So taking care of the gums, getting rid of the toxins. Another big tip about gum disease, if you've got it going on, I'm going to say an obvious thing, but a lot of people overlook it. You go into the health food store, you get these USDA organic, certified organic, chewy, naturally sweetened bars, these energy bars, and you're munching on those during the day and you're not brushing it all, and all that sticky, basically organic sweet stuff is cooking in your mouth. You are fermenting, a fermented factory in there looking for, again, all this bacteria to kick up, and this imbalance that you've already got just gets more out of control, and that's a chronic thing that should not be left unaddressed. I would stay away from those things, alkalize more, minerals is a biggie. I've had mineral solutions that I would swish with, but mineral-rich foods, sea vegetables, greens as well, dark leafy greens, your Swiss chard, your kale, your collard. You want foods that alkalize you, even if you got into the vegetable juices, which are actually acidic outside the body, but they have an alkalizing effect. You want to get lemon juice, put it in your water, squeeze in half a lemon into like a whole thing of water here and drink that down. Alkalize, mineral rich, stay away from the sugars, do the hydroflossing. You're going a long way. Get a drop of the essential oils. I have a healthy gum drop that I use as well. I don't know if you want recommendations, but again, you could just take a drop and just massage it right in there on the gum. You'll actually feel that sensation on the gum for a minute or two. It's a very fresh feeling, but this is a great thing to do. You can also do a little half a teaspoon of oil pulling a few times a week. Keeps the areas of the mouth a little bit more somewhat clean. But the biggest thing with gum disease and gum pockets is a hydrofloss is essential. You got to do it.
I love it. And the hydrofloss, also known as a water pick sometimes too, right? So people can find it that way as well. I love that. And I think it is such an important tool, especially when you have those those deep pockets. And another tip that, and you mentioned it right there at the end, that, and again, some of this comes from Ayurveda, right? The oil pulling is thousands and thousands of years old. And I know there's a lot of debate if does this work and does it not work. This comes from ancient wisdom. It's been used for thousands of years. And just from my own experience, I can say it is helpful. It's not something that's going to cure every problem in a matter of a week, but consistently done, it does provide a very good ecosystem. And then another thing, again, you mentioned it, is the massaging the gums, and they would use neem a lot in the Ayurvedic culture. And so these are some things that I think are fantastic. And another one I want to throw in from Ayurveda is the tongue scrapers. So they have these little tongue scrapers, and you can basically just scrape gently the coating of the tongue, and it just gets rid of some biological waste that accumulates on the tongue. So these are just some fantastic ways. And again, I think water pick or the hydrofloss, as you mentioned, is so important for these deep pockets. And
well, that's a biggie too. What you were talking about, the tongue alone in the mouth, right? It's not gum disease. It's not mercury fillings. It's not cavitations, right? We've gone through these things. It's not root canal treated teeth. But a white tongue is not what you want. It should be red, pinkish, white on top that you're scraping away. You know, no offense, no judgment out there, but you're eating too much sugars. The candida, you know, the growth, it's not just on your tongue. What's on your tongue doesn't stay on your tongue. It's in your gut as well. And I'm sure you've talked quite a bit about this, but that is a simple, no cost medical test you can give yourself. Get into the bathroom, stick out your tongue, and be honest with yourself. If it's white, you got work to do. You can change it. Good, clean water. Get minerals into you. Alkalize. Stop eating such acidic forming sugary foods. Breads, bagels, corn chips, you name it, right? All of that. Rices, even the brown rice and the barley, and eating more just that way. Sugary stuff. Pretzels, potato chips, all of those things. The sugary, high carb, organic, healthy stuff that you find in a health food store, that's all basically sugar based. Your sugary drinks, your sugar sweeteners, the list goes on and on. Sugar, sugar, sugar. So like you were saying before, a little bit of the floss, a little bit of the neem, you know, the coconut oil that you swish around and you oil pull. It's not a cure-all, but make a plan and stick to the plan. And is the plan working for you? And be very careful about the way you judge what works and doesn't work, especially in the natural health world. In many cases, I think people are hearing me loud and clear. You're not doing enough of the good stuff for a long enough period of time, right? 3 days ago, I did the highest quality liposomal vitamin C and quercetin, 4,000 milligrams. I think it was over the course of like 2-3 hours. I took some spoonfuls, then I took some more a little later on. 4 hours, I mean, come on, Jason, you know, I'm not feeling better. Forget this. People bail out. They stop. It's a very tricky thing. And I know what I'm saying here, Jason, might feel for some, all right, Jonathan, we get it, move on. But for others, they may be completely lost, Jason. And what I'm getting to now is you need a health coach. You're going to desperately need someone there to help keep you strong and to guide you. I mean, if I was able to spend time with enough people individually, a lot of my message would come across like this all the time. I used to do athletic training. It was the same thing. Oh, they do workouts for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They're not getting stronger. They don't get the results. I'd smack them in the head, figuratively speaking, and say, what are you, nuts? It's 3 weeks. I had a client that was 6 months and they got these results. They did this, this, and this. Did you do that? No, I didn't do that yet. I just, you know, I got a little depressed. I didn't get results. I want to quit. Yeah, that's your problem. Stay on course. So a lot of times, Jason, people need that. That's why I love these programs, these opportunities that I hope this, you know, this sparks something, but I'm not going to pretend with you, Jason, or anyone out there. This is not enough. I'm not going to be with you tomorrow, the next day, 2 weeks from now, where you try something. You might need to do a whole lot more, and there's no doubt in my mind, anybody dealing with serious health issues needs more than just themselves. And that's not a put down, it's just being honest. I'm feeling great right now. And Jason, I'm the first one to raise my hand and say, I want to have great, intelligent, better than me people around me all the time. And I'm feeling just fine right now, right? Imagine, God forbid, if I was sick. I think you understand my point.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And I'm glad you hit that, because it's something that's come up a few times in this summit, which is that, we need to stop fairy dusting or crop dusting, right? We need to stick with a plan and really give it a good go. And that's really the only way we're going to know if it works. And having somebody guide you through that process can be, especially for some, a really, really critical aspect. But either way, you're going to have to stick to it. Now, I want to get back.
Let me jump in with gum disease. Stick to a plan doesn't mean 5 years. Okay, let's get real. Like I said with my wife, you stick to a plan, you make the plan, you stick to the plan, you work the plan, and if the plan doesn't work, bail out. Make a new plan, work that plan, and never give up. Make sure you never give up on yourself. When it comes to gum disease or bleeding, unless it's really severe, Jason, it should be a matter of days, right? If it's cavities you get all the time and it's serious gum disease, all right, maybe your bleeding kind of goes away, but you've still got pocket sizes you want to work on. Maybe it's a course of 1 year where you're visiting a dentist every quarter and you're keeping up on a whole plan, but you see the gum disease is going down. You see the pockets are shrinking. You see that you physically feel better about yourself. Your mouth feels fresher. You're mentally and emotionally feeling better. Your energy level is feeling better. Hey, keep working the plan. And as your energy goes up, wow, guess what? Maybe I want to cut down on some other toxins that are affecting my gut and affecting the rest of my body. Maybe it's an emotional issue I want to work on now that I have more physical energy. Maybe it's EMF pollution. Maybe it's toxins in my bedroom and I want to start cleaning up my bedroom. The point is to keep knocking down all the loads of chemicals and unwanted debris and toxicity that affect us on a physical level inside of our gut and mentally and emotionally, and keep hammering away and give ourselves the best quality nutrients we can get on board that we can, in a realistic way, do every single day. Not just when we're on vacation, not just when the health nut relative comes to visit for a week and he just gives me all this stuff. And man, I had an incredible week with this person. I went to a retreat and I feel amazing. It's got to be on your most regular day. You can hammer away and do a program that you've never done before that is changing this balance that we've talked about, knocking down toxic loads and increasing your antioxidants in your body. Just march forward that way, and you should definitely feel like you're on the right track.
And beautifully stated, because it gets back to that core point that you made about the biological dentist, finding somebody that you trust that can help you through this. And if you do that, then they'll help you, know when to quit, know when to change strategies, and know when to keep going with what works. So just to kind of recap that point about gum disease, it's sort of the breach in the barrier that provides the access point when you have a disrupted microbiota in the mouth or infections. Now it gets into the bloodstream and it's causing systemic issues. So you need to fix the oral microbiome and seal that up and get that taken care of so that you have this protection, because the mouth itself is the first point of contact to the immune system, right? The nose and the mouth. We have in the tonsil area, there's so much activity from an immune perspective. But if we have holes, then we're sort of bypassing that, and that's really what causes the problem, right?
Right. And also make sure that the point is we're doing all of this to keep unwanted debris outside of our body. It's a very interesting concept. Inside our mouth, inside our esophagus, and inside our small intestines and large intestines is outside of our body.
Absolutely.
So we want the good stuff going in, broken down well. You talked about conscious chewing, It's a very spiritual thing. It helps us to calm our nervous system down. Literally, you physically feel it right away if you were to chew enough times. So break down the high quality food, get it in so that that goes through and works its magic, and cut down all the other debris that can break holes, like you say, and then cause all kinds of problems. That's the name of the game here. And the mouth is definitely an area that I hope after this, people just look at more carefully and break it down with some helpers that they have on their team. And, you know, they'll never regret it. I mean, I can only say, Jason, for me, it's been one of the, say, top 3 things that I've ever done for myself. Number one, of course, is getting married to my wife. That was the number one thing I did for my health. That was the best ever. But cleaning up the issues in my mouth, definitely top 3.
Well, you definitely got husband points for that one, but I know it comes from the heart, because and in fact, it's actually backed by statistics and science. You know, so it's very well stated. I'm glad that you recognize how important that is, because it's often understated or left unsaid. Well, we're about out of time, Jonathan. You've given us so much to think about with regard to the oral health and how that affects our microbiota in the entire gastrointestinal system and systemically. If I could give you just one last thing that you could impart to our audience, what would that be? And please, by all means, tell them where they can find more of your stuff and the upcoming event. I know it's a little ways off, but you got a really exciting upcoming event I want people to know about, so that they can go and sign up for it, or make sure that they find out about it when it does release.
So the main message first, Jason, cut down on those toxins as much as you can, especially starting in the mouth. Don't overlook it, and jack up as much as you can good quality antioxidants. The more, the better. They're great protectors for you. Coming up in a little bit of time, if you want now, you can do it right away. Get on the list for my event that's coming up, Holistic with an H, holisticoralhealthsummit.com. You can go there to just put in your first name and email address. You'll be on the list, and when that event comes out, you'll be notified. A lot of great speakers. It's a really great event. It's been very popular. I've had it out. We're putting it out again. And if you haven't seen it, or even if you did see it, a lot of people have seen it, but it was a long time ago, and you want a refresher, you will not be sorry. Please sign up. Go to holisticoralhealthsummit.com. And again, if you want to join our community, love to have you. We give away a ton of gifts. If you just simply sign up, it's a absolutely no cost newsletter subscription you can get by just going over to my website, naturalhealth365.com.
Jonathan Landsman, thank you so much for this. It's been a pleasure. You've got so much passion behind this, and I know it's because you've had to deal with it personally, and you've helped so many people with this stuff. So I would encourage everybody that's watching this to sign up for that event. Even though it seems like we covered a lot today, there's a lot more nuance to this stuff. And especially if you're somebody with oral health issues, you feel like you might have some stuff, there's gonna be a lot more detail, I'm sure, about exactly what you can do, and a tremendous number of resources too, because that's important for this stuff as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next one.